Welcome to the Shift & Co podcast, your beacon of empowerment and transformation. Here, wisdom converges with actionable steps, where universal principles of abundance, wellness, and happiness come alive. Introducing Laura Brennan-Bellet, the dynamo behind the science of empowerment, here to supercharge your journey with her expertise in neuroenergy. And alongside her is Stefan Hoffman, melding corporate acumen with deep esoteric wisdom. He's poised to amplify your inner voice, transforming whispers into declarations. Together, they promise to captivate, elevate, and fundamentally shift your perspective. Now, here are your hosts, Laura and Stefan.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where everybody is in the world today. Very excited for today's episode. But first of all, how are you doing today, Laura?
Fabulous. Thank you. And I am too. We've been talking right. We had to press the button to go live because we love this subject.
We do indeed. So as I'm sure our audience has already seen, our tagline today is shameless clickbait, the effective use of mind-altering substances. And no, we are not going to be talking about anybody's drug of choice. We are in fact talking about the drug that everybody has to take on a daily basis, and that is food.
Thought we were going to say love.
Well, we would love for everybody to be getting that drug every single day, but sadly, there seems to be a shortage. So maybe we should start a beautiful pharmaceutical factory that sells love.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Right?
We could bottle it.
Maybe that is what we're doing with Shift & Co. We're bottling love in each and every episode, and we're giving out into the world. I like that.
There you go. Here's our love dose for today.
Absolutely. But yes, so food. We don't often think about food as a drug.
I know, and though it's
not.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and yet it's one of those things that has been around, or we've been talking about using food as medicine for centuries, millennia even. And yet we don't actually recognize that every single actual drug that we use, whether it's over the counter or whatever the case may be, starts it off in some way, shape, or form as food, right? So we know that penicillin came from the rind of various cheeses and that sort of thing, the mold. We know that turmeric is a phenomenal anti-inflammatory and works wonders for migraines, and that has now been moved into a more chemical compound. But food in and of itself has effects on the brain. And I know that over the last year or so, I've started to really look at everything I eat, not just from does this taste good perspective, but from the perspective of what is it doing to my body? What is it doing to my mind? To the point now where I know, okay, I don't want a protein-heavy meal late in the night because it's going to keep me up, right? My mind starts to go quite a lot faster. Right. Obviously, we know sugars in that, whether it's natural sugars or etc., has an effect on the body. So fruit does that as well, but equally vegetables, right? And then you start to recognize that, certain plants balance out our hormones. Certain vegetables help us with our hair and our bones. Certain stuff is good for your eyesight. When you start to recognize this, now your diet is not just, I need to lose 5 pounds. Now it's, I'm going to the optometrist next month. I might want to start eating vegetables that are high in XYZ so that my eyesight is good, so that I'm not having to worry about new glasses. It's this mindset which is so prevalent in the East. So if you look at Ayurvedic medicine, if you look at your Chinese herbalists, they work from the perspective of prevention is better than a cure, right? So instead of going straight to whenever stuff goes wrong, now let's fix it, they're very much about the prevention. And I read an interesting statement that apparently in ancient times, I don't know if it's still the case, but Chinese doctors would charge a monthly retainer of
Yeah.
a family. And they would stop charging you if you got sick
Yeah.
because they weren't doing their job.
Yeah.
Much better way of
Yeah.
looking at them.
It's so cool. I mean, we could talk for hours on this subject for many reasons, right? Food is a drug in a certain aspect. It can be a spiritual experience. It can be a love
Mm,
experience, right? It can be a sensual experience. It
mm,
is a comforting experience, but it also is and can be, I will say, can be a very toxifying experience. It can be harmful when we're not ingesting the right foods. It is complicated. And we are not skilled nutritionists in any way. We are speaking, as we always do, from pure experience in our lifetime of all the ebbs and flows and the research and the data that we do collect on the back end here. But I've had a very unique relationship with food, and we all have, because we know what it is to um, comfort ourselves in times of grief or stress with food. We also know what it is to gather around a table with our family and our friends and
right.
celebrate. And so there's this wiring, right? This neuronal wiring in the brain that happens from way long ago. And for those of us that believe in ancestral lineage and what we're bringing in, I've always wondered why most of us, and myself very much, I love crunch
Same.
food. Always. It doesn't matter. And I wanted to know about it. So I read about it, and they really do back this up into, you know, kind of the prehistoric times when we crunched on bone. And in the caveman days, and yeah,
Mm,
we really ate on the bone, gnawed on the bone. And there's something in the, say, in the DNA, in that structure of how we relate to meat. And for those of us maybe that don't eat the meat anymore, but there's that crunch. So it's crisp bread hot out of the oven, or it's a beautiful cracker, or whatever it is. But food really can soothe, but it also can damage. And so many of us do
mm,
know that it's how we feel after we eat. And when we do overeat and we combine the wrong foods, and the gastric environment is so hypersensitive now for almost everyone on some level. And as you said, it, causing headaches, causing obesity and diabetes, and just unhealthy living all the way around. And so, how can we look at the energetic structure of food through an awareness before we shop, so that we're bringing it right into the home? And then, how are we preparing it? And what is the environment? What music are we listening to? Is it a rainy day,
mm,
cold, and are we making soup to nurture? For instance, I have this absolute soothing, healthy drink that I make. We'll call it a smoothie. And when I ingest it, I always say this is like the most soothing medicine for my health. I
mm.
speak these words and I'll say it out loud. And even my husband, Bruce, is looking at me, but I'm like, this is healing to my temple. It's healing and cooling to the entire system, going down to the gut. And my mind and my body have this coherence of understanding that I chose the energetic food to really honor the wellness of my body. And so I've really been very aware of what I'm eating. And am I breathing during eating? Am I eating slower than usual? Am I eating
Mm,
quickly? Am I eating just to get food because we've had long days of work? And I really think there's a very unique way that we can overcome a lot of the obstacles in our relationship with food if we look at it, as you stated, preventive, healing, soothing, calming fueling our
Yes.
energy, our creativity?
So I've started to recognize that my personality has shifted over the
Mm,
last probably year and a half, I would say. So as a person, I've always been a move away from, not a move towards. So I move away from pain and suffering and all the rest of it, uncomfortable situations, but I don't necessarily gravitate easily to happier, joyful situations. So a situation has to get fairly uncomfortable before I will change it, usually. And I've been
mm,
saying for ages, I want to shift that perception and I want to be the person who moves towards happiness, joy, love, all the blessings that the world has to offer, as opposed to someone who just sits mired in nonsense and has to be uncomfortable before he makes a shift and change. Now, I bring that up because if I then apply that to food, right,
mm,
I've had a very odd relationship with food in that I don't necessarily comfort eat. So when I am stressed out, I do the opposite of what most people do. I find it very difficult to eat. If I'm in a highly stressful situation, I will sometimes realize after 3 days that I haven't eaten in 72 hours.
mm,
And that's not healthy either, right? That's not, unless you are consciously doing a cleanse and you're supporting your body through that fasting period, that's a different story. But if you're hopped up on coffee all day long to suppress your appetite and then you're not eating, that's just a recipe for disaster. You're forming a lot of acid in the body. It's just not a great thing. But so now, as I've been really more conscious, as you say, of what I'm eating, what the intention is behind the meal,
mm.
and paying attention to how my body and my mind feel when I'm ingesting something, it's then a lot easier for me to track how that feeling progresses through the
Mm,
day, week, etc. Because it's not, we think that, oh, it's done once you put it in your mouth. No,
oh,
that food, the chemicals in that food, stay with you in your body, change your hormones for up to 2, 3 weeks. Okay, so
yeah,
all
amazing.
of that does come into play. Hence, we say it is a mind altering substance, right? So,
Oh,
case in point was this the last 2 weeks, I've been eating very healthy, been doing my detox. Laura knows, Laura's been helping me with the juices that I've been making because I started to notice that some of the juices, whilst very healthy, I'm having a little bit of inflammation that comes up. And she said, well, that's because this is very heavy in sugar, and this one's maybe a bit more heavy in acid, and you're not having something that is balancing that out. Cut down on that and add this in. Right. So we've been working on that. Thank you so much, Laura. It's been actually great. I've seen a huge difference in my intake on my juices and whatnot. Very happy about that. Um, but by the same token, I'm not wanting to sort of live a very yogic life where I'm just eating raw veggies, straight out of the garden and that's it. No, I still want to have my steak, my seafood, my chicken, every so now and then, but being mindful about the quantity I'm eating and the quality of the food that I'm ingesting.
absolutely.
Because I know meat, whilst good for you because it provides protein, is also acid forming.
Right.
So in South Africa, we're a very heavy alcohol and meat based diet. So every
Woo!
meal, a bottle of wine,
Yeah.
or a brandy and coke, as the
Oh,
fishing towns will do, and it'll be steaks and sausage and chops and chicken and so on and so forth, and maybe for as my father used to say when I was a child, he goes, but or my mother would say, where's the veggies? We're having this wonderful barbecue. Where are the veggies? And he goes, but I'm barbecuing the veggies, and he's pointing at the chicken. There's the vegetables.
yeah.
So South
Yeah.
Africa is very heavy meat based, right? Recognizing that whilst that can be enjoyable, again, is it good for the body in the long run?
Right.
So I ran a little
And
experiment yesterday, or actually this whole week I've been running. Yeah.
no, go ahead.
So you were going to ask? Oh, okay.
No, no, yeah, no,
I would say
yeah,
that
go ahead.
I think. Oh, sorry. We're talking over. I'm going to quiet.
Well, no, I wanted to hear your experiment, but I was just thinking about, um, you know, in theory, we could eat whatever we wanted and not let it have a negative effect in the body and within the mind. However, we are not evolved enough
There we go.
energetically to alter what we are perceiving, what we are actually ingesting, and how we're
Absolutely.
interacting with that environment. So that's the issue. There are, great mentors and teachers out in the world. Dr. David Sinclair of the Longevity Project in Harvard University has done some amazing studies, both pros and cons in his research. But we cannot ingest like cotton candy every day and then be able to combat the toxicity of that load of chemical and sugar, because we just don't know how to alter that experience. We're again that So I like to say that and be playful with it, that we're just not evolved enough to eat, cheeseburgers and french fries and pizza and all of that every single day. The physicality is not resonating at a level that can handle that workload. No different than going to the gym. And if you're just starting out, you cannot lift 100 pounds, and just your muscles will strain, your body will fatigue, you'll get injured. But
Right.
we just because we cannot see the inside, we ignore it, even though our bodies are
Mm-hmm.
screaming that the result of what you're doing to me, you're hurting me, you're harming me. Bruce and I were talking about this. I read an article about listening to the body, almost crying through heart palpitations, through diabetes. Again, Chinese herbal medicine, they'll, acupuncture, they'll look at the tongue, the health, the color of the eyes. Your body is an indicator of what's happening
Mm-hmm.
in the ecosystem within. And for us humans in this time frame, how we take in food and the ability to break it down and use it for our benefit is where it goes a bit askew.
Oh, absolutely. So that actually ties in perfectly with the experiments I've been running this week, where I've been paying very close attention to how I feel when I eat whilst I'm eating something. So I pay very close attention. Is my dopamine spiking extra high, like when you have a piece of chocolate or something? Or is it sort of a moderate spike that feels good, but it's not this almost drug induced euphoria that you get when you eat something that you probably shouldn't, like cotton candy, right? It's a nice treat, but it's not something you should be having in bulk.
Right.
Um, and then last night, I thought, okay, I've been eating really, really healthy, and almost zero carbs, but I've been gymming really hard, comparatively speaking. So I thought I should probably get some carbs in my diet. And I don't want complex carbs. I'm going to get simple carbs, which are not good for you. We know this. But we also know that the dopamine spike is beautiful. Anybody who's bitten into a fresh slice of bread knows, with some farm fresh butter salted, it's one of the best things that you could absolutely have in that moment, right? So we have this bread in South Africa called a vetkoek, which is essentially a batter that is flash fried, deep fried, but flash
Oh,
fried. And it literally, you drop it in and it just blows up, and you drop it in for like 10 seconds and you take it straight out, and that's it, it's done.
yum.
Um, and so delicious, just so delicious. But you do have to, when you get it from the store, you have to first. I mean, I had to pat it down with kitchen toweling for a good solid 5 minutes just to try and get some of the fat off of the oil and whatnot. But then you slice it open, it's this beautiful soft dough. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be so good. And I made my own chicken mayonnaise conglomerate that I put together myself. So I took fresh chicken breasts and I cooked them in po stock cubes. So beautiful Asian flavors going through that, and then shredded that up. nice and lean, added some lean mayo to that, and that was going to be my cheat meal. And I bit into this, and I was like, now pay attention to how you're feeling. Bit in, tasted great, feels good, all the rest of it. Dopamine spikes as expected, carry on eating. Get about halfway through, and I feel my stomach starting to rebel slightly.
Yeah.
And I ask myself, has this always happened? And I'm only noticing now? Or is this only happening now because I've been eating healthier? And I took another bite, and this voice in the back of my head said, no, it's always been happening. You just didn't bother to listen,
Mm.
and you carried on with the sensation of the actual eating, not paying
Right.
attention to what's going on in your body. So we have a saying in South Africa, um, I was going, ek eet agter die lekkerheid aan, which basically translates to you're only eating because it's tasting nice. So not
Yeah.
because you're not full, you actually are full, or it's not agreeing with you, whatever the case may be, but it tastes so good that you just carry on. And that was me. I'm like, so that's what I've been doing. And I finished my meal, and I woke up at about, I think, 3 a.m. this morning, and my tummy I could feel was definitely not the happiest of campers. And
Yeah.
I lay in bed and I thought about it, and I thought, isn't that interesting? If I was truly selfish about how much I love myself, then the 3.5 minute dopamine fix that I got from this, because let's face it, by the time I was done, all that happy, loving dopamine was gone, right?
Right.
Absolutely just out the window.
Right.
So that 3.5 minute high that I got, was it worth the, probably, because I mean, I feel better now, but I don't actually know what's going on in my body. It's probably still trying to clear it out.
Right.
12, 15, 24, 36 hour battle that my body now has to go through to
Right.
right itself, to get everything going the way it wanted to, where I could have had a beautiful fresh stir fry, which would have given me the crunch like we were talking about earlier, given me better
Mm.
nutrients, not would have been very soothing on the gut,
Yeah.
a lot healthier in general, and then I
Well,
would have been feeling better for the next week. Yeah.
because you know what happens here is, as you were, kind of referencing, is in the moment, whatever is triggering the eating, whether it's again hunger, fuel, stress, happiness, celebration, grief, whatever it is, there's so much emotionality, so much a charge into the act of eating. Is it a moment that I'm just taking a break from a hard day and I'm eating fast and I'm just trying again to fuel? Am I just eating out of nervous energy, anxiety? It's all, for most of us, food intake is emotional intake through
Yes.
food. It really is. This is the beauty of awareness to the body and awareness to how are we loving ourselves, treating ourselves, what is the relationship that we're having with food. And of course, none of us really has the capacity and the bandwidth to look at every single
Yeah.
sip and bite throughout all the days. So this is really just giving this general overview of next time you go out shopping, ask yourself, what am I purchasing and why am I purchasing this? Of course, many of us don't have the time, but one of the really unique ways to educate yourself with your relationship with food, read the labels. Anything that has more than 5 ingredients, stop, put it down, don't buy it. Most things in a bag, most things in a package, we understand this. Now you can search out and find things in a bag, in a box, in a package that aren't necessarily going to completely destroy you, but read and look, research. Again, as Stefan always says, we have the largest library in the world available at our fingertips, i.e., Google. It is a wealth of information aside from what you're getting always here with the Shift and Co. Look at your relationship with food. And if you use it as preventative, healing,
Yes.
soothing, supportive, loving, kind, energy in, you will change the way you relate to food, the way you prepare, the way you ingest. Everything will shift if you look at it in that framework, your body will become lighter and freer. You will move differently. The backaches, the headaches, the joint aches, so much will be cleared away. As we always say, always get medical advice,
Yeah,
speak with your practitioners, your healers, your doctors, but also listen to your body. It is telling you what it needs. And yes, I know some people will be saying, yes, it's telling me I need chocolate, I need coffee, I need a pizza. It's Friday night, I'm exhausted. That may be true, but there's alternatives to all of that. There
oh,
are
absolutely.
healing, drinks. I wanted to share this because for people, I have a client that was really addicted to coffee very badly, and with everything in it, the sugar and the cream. And then, I got her off of the cream,
Oh.
I got her off of the sugar, but the black coffee. And we started talking about really what it did on an empty stomach after fasting all night. Even if you
Mm.
eat till 9 o'clock at night and you get up at 6 or 7 or 8, you still had a fasting period, and dropping
Still,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of
Mm.
coffee has natural molds in it, along with the acidic. So I started having her drink what's called golden milk. And it can be,
Oh, yeah.
coconut milk with turmeric and ginger and
Mm.
pepper, cinnamon, and it's warm and it's spicy. So it
Delicious.
gives your tongue this little like, woo,
Mm. Oh, it's so good. I love it.
and it's just so soothing. Now, again, maybe not every body can handle pepper or turmeric or ginger. Easy, light, just introduce something that has that nurturing, warm, as you said, almost dopamine hit. I mean, the color is just gorgeous when you drink it,
Oh,
and
it
the
is.
aroma. But let's say that's not your thing.
Your cup of
Teas,
tea.
little, yes. Oh my God, the tea world is just beaming with flavors and herbs and flowers.
Mm.
There's so many ways to really shift.
Actually, on that note of there being so many different options out there,
Mm,
that is so true because since I started making this shift to start to really look at what I'm putting in from the perspective of is this healing, nurturing, etc., or is it detrimental? And if it is, because I'm not gonna say that I'm a complete monk and saint and I've cut
no.
all sugar and all stuff out of my diet. I'm still human. I still like the odd piece of chocolate. I still like my meats. I still like the various things. But when you start to research a little bit, you find that there is this whole plethora of
Mm,
options out there that you just don't see. And the reason you don't see it is because they're literally hidden just behind that McDonald's ad,
yeah.
just behind that coffee ad, right? It's right
And
there. If you just move it out the way, it's like, oh goodness.
And again, be aware of the emotion that you're feeling. So, oh, this is the way I've eaten. Now I have to change it. Watch the emotion train that comes after. I can't do that. That's
Mm,
too hard. Oh my, and all of what your mindset is structured towards. Slowly begins, as we always say here at the Shift and Co, small, simple, accessible shifts in your mind, in your body, in your spirit, little baby steps to begin to heal the patterns that have gotten you to a place that aren't as healthy for you as something else can be. So again, we've always talked, right? Don't start going to the gym 80 hours a week and stop eating everything. And you can't, your mind and your body will not be aligned. It will
they won't.
not work. And if it does, it'll work for a moment and then you're back to the pattern. Slow and
Yeah,
steady, nice and easy. Like again, maybe you drink 3 cups of coffee, you take one of those out, and that's how you start. Or as you were talking, and my client did this, let go of the cream, then let go of the sugar, maybe incorporate a cup of tea. All right, it doesn't matter. You want to eat chicken, you want to eat steak, you want to eat fish, then maybe you make a small amount of some beautiful as you said, a remoulade, a topping, just a dollop,
Mm.
not drenched in it. Maybe the thought of eating vegetables is like, oh my God. All right, find something. So maybe let go of the heavy cows related butter and maybe get some ghee, or pour a little bit of apple cider vinegar and a beautiful coconut aminos with like your Asian, kind of mix. There is absolutely a million alternatives to live a healthy life where
The
the food is rocking in a way. And I am a pure testament for this. When I started my gut journey, and I was like, I cried for 3 days. And I'm being honest, I was like, how am I? Because I've always been able to eat what I want. It's never been a weight issue. It's never really been a health issue because I'm,
Mhm.
hyperactive and all of that. It was gut and
Yeah,
mind. Started to
yeah.
see if I wanted to resonate at a higher level, meditate, journal, be creative, reach
What do I
high
have to? Yeah,
states. I could not put the density of chemicals into my body and then think my mind and my consciousness would be able to stretch that far away. It just doesn't work. So I had to
no,
match the frequency of intake of my food to support my desires, my goals of elevating my
there we
life.
go.
And I will tell you really quickly. So when we had our kids, they loved pizza. Every Friday night was local, delicious, good pizza, but pizza. I started making the homemade cassava and cauliflower crust. I started using
Mm.
lamb and goat cheese with caramelized onion. I can only
Mm.
tell you I eat cheese. I mean, we didn't eat pizza for like 3 years straight. I barely eat it now. Maybe twice a year, I'll have a slice. I absolutely make homemade pizza all the time. That's just one of, again, a million recipes that you can do. I cannot tell you the style of recipes using homemade figs and dates that can create brownies that are like off the chain, that you would never eat a chemical packaged brownie ever again. So there's so many
Many.
options that you can begin slowly.
And that, thank you for saying that. It's actually, it is that it's starting slowly and changing your perspective slightly. My ex always says that when she lived in Asia, the first thing that she noticed was, as a culture, because meat is quite expensive there, it's not what they base their meals around. So
Mm,
it's the other way around. In the West, we tend to base our meals around the meat. So it'll be like, oh, we're going to have chicken tonight. Oh gosh, what veggies am I going to do with that? Right? Or, oh, I'm going to have a barbecue. Oh, what, am I going to do corn? Or am I going to, right? In Asia, it's the complete opposite.
yeah,
It's, I'm going to be doing a spinach based dish. Oh, what meat would fit with that? So
right.
automatically, because you're putting the vegetables first and making a dish with that, and then adding your meat, the meat becomes a smaller portion.
Yeah.
If you're focusing on the meat first, it's automatically the biggest part of the meal.
Oh yeah. Like I
Just
have,
doing
I have,
little things.
yeah, I have
Sorry, yeah.
male friends that their steaks are this big falling off the plate and the vegetables are in a little side
Right.
ramekin. Yeah.
And it should be the other way around, right? It
Yeah.
really should. Um, so it's these little things. Like if you just start to change your perception, we're not saying everyone should be vegan and just laying in the sun for nutrients. No, still enjoy life. Food is there to be enjoyed. It's one of the many great pleasures that
Mm,
physicality has to offer.
I love
But
food.
it doesn't. Yeah, I think we both. Well, you can tell by my cheeks that I love food.
I have
um,
muscle food.
there we go. There we go. And I even just started to change again my perspective on things. So I've decided to release alcohol from my diet because its purpose has been served in my life. I don't need it anymore. I realized, I was actually chatting to my friend Yoss, and I think Laura, I mentioned it to you as well, that alcohol in my life as a drug and an enjoyment drink was not because I craved alcohol, but because I craved the social aspect of
Yeah.
alcohol.
So
Because
many
booze
of
can be
us.
sat in my cupboard for weeks, months, years on end, never be touched. But let me go to a pub or a bar or even a restaurant, and you'll find me getting home at 6 in the morning,
Yeah.
right? Because I don't want the party to end.
Yeah.
But now I've gone past it. I don't need that validation anymore. So therefore, alcohol doesn't serve the same purpose as it did before. And equally, like you were saying, when you're looking at your diet, etc., deciding that certain foods don't serve you in terms of what your goals are. I have certain very big goals for myself, and I recognize that alcohol was becoming more of a hindrance than a help. So where before, especially when I was in corporate, alcohol was a huge help in my career, because I was in wealth management. So obviously you're going out for drinks with clients, you're getting them tipsy because you want them to have a good time, and then you sign the deal, hungover as all heck the next morning, but you got the deal. So the business was done. Everybody is happy, right? It's not the same anymore for me. So I'm able to release that requirement. But then equally, last week actually, I've been playing around with various things that I can have when I go out instead of having my usual glass of wine or an old fashioned or a brandy or whatever the case may be. And I started off with sparkling water and lime. That wasn't quite right. And it's starting to warm up here in South Africa. So the other day I thought, do you know what? Actually, that was it. The bartender got the order wrong. So I said I'd like a sparkling water and lime, and this drink comes and it's yellow. And I'm like,
Mhm.
why is this yellow? And I go, excuse me, what's in here? And he goes, sparkling water and lime. I'm like, why is it yellow though? And he goes, oh, I'm so sorry. I poured passion fruit instead of lime. I grabbed the wrong bottle.
Oh,
My
love
apologies.
passion.
I'll take it back. I said, oh, let me taste it. I want to see what it tastes like. Had a
Yeah.
sip of it, and he'd literally just added half a shot of passion fruit to this great big, beautiful glass of sparkling water. I love sparkling water. I added that, and it was the most refreshing drink. And I said, "Could you bring me half a shot of lime as well, please? I just want to add that in." Now I have my drink, and it tastes amazing. Sat
Mhm.
down at the table. It was a quiz night, and there was actually somebody from out of the country sitting opposite me. She was from your neck of the woods, Laura, the States. She's
Cool.
from Colorado, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Um, and she goes, "Oh, could I have a taste of that? That looks really good." So I said, "Yeah, of course. Please go ahead." Taste it. She goes, "Oh, what's in that?" So I tell her, and she goes, "Do you know? Had you not told me, I would have fully thought that there's a shot of vodka in that."
Yeah. Just the way
She
it tasted.
literally thought there had to have been some form of alcohol in there. She looks at me, she
Mm.
says, "Are you sure that's non-alcohol?" I said, "There's not a drop of alcohol in this." She
Yeah.
says, "I could drink that a whole Saturday with my
Yeah.
girlfriends at a cocktail party. No one would know that I'm sober, and I don't wake up with a hangover." I said, "Why do you think I'm drinking it? This is exactly it. It tastes amazing,
Yeah.
feels great, no hangover the next day. Options,
Yeah, I
respect."
mean, you know me and my relationship with alcohol anyways. It's, so many people struggle with alcoholism and again, the release of the long work week or at the end of the day. And, I
Yes.
have so many women friends in my life and clients where they have a glass of wine and again, the Shift and Co. It's all about you do you. What we try to bring is these beautiful tidbits and these empowering messages of options and alternatives and different perspectives and way to
Mm,
advance and expand your mindset and just to maybe spark an interest of working towards a different way of being in the world for yourself and then for the collective. And when we eat better, when we drink less, smoke less, exercise more, when we look at the world in a way of how can I resonate and vibrate at a frequency that brings happiness and joy and good health and overall wellness into my personal environment, that's going to ripple out to everyone else. So have a beautiful life, have a great time, but challenge yourself to see if you can create a new mindset, reframe the way you've always done things if they're not working for you. If you're feeling
mm,
a bit sluggish and overweight and too tired in the middle of the day, and all of the things that we all experience, find new ways to infuse energy in the way you think, in the way you eat, in the way you move through your day. It's amazing the creative force that aligns with your potential when you take in less density and create more of a light body, metaphorically and physically.
Absolutely. That's beautifully aligned, actually, with the reading that I've just pulled with the tarot cards,
Nice.
on the energy of this discussion, because the message is very simple today.
Mm,
It's saying that you may feel as though you are leaving something behind when
mm,
you start this journey, but in actuality, you are creating a temple, your body, of
mm.
opulence. That is the word that comes out.
Yeah.
Opulence. It's the sensation of literally being draped in the most beautiful,
Mm,
luscious fabrics, and arrayed with just gemstones and opulence. And the advice card, or rather the future card, I should say, that comes out is you will then start to notice how much simpler the rest of life becomes, because you're
mm,
not going to be feeling as though you're juggling 1,001 things, because your mind is going to be clearer, because the body actually,
yeah.
um what is it that the one of the scriptures Jesus said, if the eye is simple, the whole body will be bright. It's the same
Oh,
thing.
well, there you go. And that's I'm glad that I can be in the same time frame as that statement is what I was saying, right? Take the density of
Right.
thinking out, take the density of eating
Mm,
out, the density of alcohol. Again, slow, easy, simple, one step at a time. Once you get that back and forth rhythm going, that coherence
exactly.
starts to naturally come into play and you will feel amazing. And I will tell you, when you look at food as medicine, it really does start to soothe the nature, and then the nature really loves to come out and play. And
Yeah.
when you use the word simple on the reading, as you know, we always read a power quote from the Science of Empowerment, and I pulled this up today and I was curious how the conversation would go. So the power quote for the day is: critical thinking is an important skill to master. And this fits so beautifully because the emotionality connected to how and why we eat is actually what is the biggest challenge to how and what we eat. So now I want you to think about being a critical thinking master. When you go to enjoy your food, shop for your food, prep your food, think from positive intelligence, not emotion, and see how your relationship with food can shift so that you live a
Yeah.
life of just beautiful health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to leave the audience with one last thing, because both Laura and myself love to cook. We really do. And you said something there so beautiful. You said, think about when you go to enjoy your food. And
Mm,
so often we don't approach our meals with the idea that we're going to enjoy this, right?
right.
We approach it with, I need to scarf something down because I haven't eaten today. Or what's the easiest snack to grab because I'm stressed, I need this, right? It's not oh, this is going to be a beautiful experience. And equally, when we think about eating healthier, you have this idea of steamed Brussels sprouts. I can think of few things worse in this world than steamed Brussels sprouts, right? It's just no. But yet there are so many beautiful meals that can be created that are so incredibly tasty. I mean, I made a
Mm,
soup the other day for one of my, well, myself actually, and one of my friends came over and she goes, "Oh, I'm really hungry. Do you have anything I could eat?" And so, well, I'm eating quite healthy at the moment, so the only thing I have is the soup. And I warmed it up for her. And
mm,
I go to my room to get something, and I come back out, and she's on the phone to her mom.
yeah.
And all I hear, she's talking Afrikaans, and all I hear is, "The soup is so delicious. I must find out what is in the soup." And
Yeah.
she sees me come, she goes, What's in the soup?" And I said, "Well, it's," and I listed all the ingredients, and it's all these beautiful veggies. It was carrots, it was spinach, it was beetroot, it was what else did I put in there? Here's butternut, sweet potato,
Mm.
uh,
That's the
lentils,
beauty.
and I think
That's the
there were a
beauty
few
of
other things,
soups. You can create the most
right?
beautiful concoction, the colors, the
Beautiful.
flavors, broths. I mean,
Oh,
bone broth as your base. I mean, anything. It's so healing and nurturing. But I love what you
just
said.
amazing.
Enjoy. When you go to eat, connect. Again, that mind gut coherence. Am I enjoying this? Am I taking a moment to nurture my thought process around this beautiful, grateful opportunity to enjoy
Exactly.
food? And how is it feeding my soul, my mind, and my creativity?
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, that is all the time we have today. Um, as always, please do like, share, and subscribe using the buttons below. The link to purchase Laura's beautiful book, where we
Thank you.
always get our power quotes from, is in the description as well. Link to Amazon, so you can have a look at that. And if you are looking at ways to improve your relationship with food or just your ability to be more mindful, feel free to book an exploratory session with us as well. Link will be in the is in the description too. Be happy to have that chat and see how we can help you to find a path that is uplifting for you, that's not an onerous path, but one that also really brings you joy and fulfillment in your life.
Yeah.
So, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, we have been Laura and Steph at the Shift & Co., and we look forward to seeing you real soon. Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.
Another enlightening journey concludes here at the Shift & Co. podcast. If this episode resonated, share the wisdom, subscribe for more transformative tales, and continue this voyage of growth with us. Until our paths cross again, keep shifting, stay curious, and embrace the continual evolution of self.